Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this board meeting to order and wish to acknowledge that our meeting is taking place on unceded and unsurrendered Algonquin territory. I would like to thank the Algonquin Nation for hosting us on their land. Could we please have a motion to approve the agenda? Trustee Huff, seconded by Trustee Jenikins. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? And opposed?
Fisher in favor.
And the motion is carried. The next item on our agenda is the presentation of the D. Aubrey Moody Award, which is the award which for many years now has been presented to the highest achieving students in our graduating class from last year. So I will turn this over to the director for the moment. Oh, I get to start first. I can say then that the 2018-2019 Ottawa-Carleton District School Board's top scholar, and this top scholars with an S, I should say, and this year's D. Aubrey Moody Award recipients are Mingdi Yin and Rassam R.S. Yazdi. Both of these students graduated with a final grade average of 97.31%. Mingdi graduated from Colonel Bai Secondary School and is currently attending the Engineering Science program at the University of Toronto. He hopes to specialize in aerospace engineering and has joined the university's aerospace team, which is building towards the launch of a CubeSat next year. During his time at Colonel Bai Secondary School, he worked with several others to create an engineering conference called SET, S-E-T, which is still running and looking for opportunities to expand. Rassam graduated from Lisgar Collegiate Institute and is currently attending the Engineering Science program at the University of Toronto with plans to specialize in, guess what, aerospace engineering. And furthermore, Rassam also plays for the Toronto Varsity Blues men's tennis team, going undefeated in the OUA championships this past month to help his team secure silver in Ontario. Two amazing students who have done extremely well, both of them obviously heading for illustrious careers as aerospace engineers. And over to you, Madam Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's our pleasure to be congratulating Mingdi and Rassam and their families on their outstanding academic achievement. We wish them every success in their post-secondary academic pursuits and future career paths. At this time, I'll request that Ellen Boynton from the Bells Corners United Church, as well as the families of Rassam and Mingdi, to join us at the front here for the presentation.
Nearly 20 years ago, Mr. Aubrey Moody, fondly known as the father of Nepean, began giving a $200 annual award to the student with highest marks in the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board. Later, he entrusted the management of the award to Bells Corners United Church, and it's my pleasure to present this year's award, in this case 2 of them, to the winners. Mr. Moody believed that education is the key to opportunity, but he wanted his award to be used for fun, as a reward for the diligent work these top students have done.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Boynton. And just to add, I actually have memories of Mr. Moody coming here himself, even when he was in the last years of his life. He was 99 when he passed away in 2008, and he always delighted in meeting the students and their families, and he knew that he could trust them to make sure they did what they were expected to do with these awards, which was to make sure it wasn't all work, but they also had fun.
We have also been informed that the two recipients are on the phone, and so we'd like to convey a direct congratulations to Mingdi and Rassam. We think you're listening. We hope you're there. But we have now conferred your awards to your families. Pleasure to meet them, and great congratulations to both of you for all of the work that you've done. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you both for joining us this evening. And now moving on, we have what I hope will be the first in a series of presentations to the board. We often make decisions on policies and programs and schools and budgets, but we don't always know exactly what the initiatives in the classroom are being supported and encouraged by our decisions. And the director has made some significant efforts with her team to make sure that we do have some opportunities to find out more about what is happening in schools. So, Madam Director, would you like to introduce this?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. In a recent visit to one of our high schools, I had the opportunity to sit with and learn from a group of students, and I asked them what they worry about. And among the answers was a statement that students worry about the validity of their education. This is an important indicator for us that our teaching and learning approaches must have meaningful, purposeful connections to the real world, which means that our structures and approaches must be agile and innovative and responsive. I will ask Superintendent Grigoriev to introduce one class's work and experience to help us to understand how it is that our work is in fact meaningful for our students, and how it is that we might bring these examples forward to the rest of our system.
Has left. Thank you very much for the introduction. I have to say it's my extreme pleasure to bring this example to the boardroom today. It's a little different, a little departure from what we do, but I do hope it's worth your while in terms of bringing to life the experience that you may have read about in your package on starting on page 1. And it is an experience in one school, in one classroom. It has to do with innovation, community connections, and it is an example of what is possible in many classrooms with some imagination, some creativity, innovation, and an inspired teacher to take it on. So I am now going to turn it over to teacher Thomas Ranger, who has a PowerPoint presentation for you, and then we have a little surprise in store at the end.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'll jump right into it. We were fortunate enough to be a part of the Imagining My Sustainable Communities project put on by an architectural panel called Number 9. And it really started, the journey started here. If you'll direct your attention to the screen. There's a 6.5 acre Booth Street campus which used to be owned by Natural Resources Canada, and it was used primarily for mining. And this is the building block that we raised up our project on. This is a slide that shows the progression of the buildings from before 1929 to the present, and it's important to note that 5 of the buildings on this site are historically protected and cannot be demolished. This is a street view of the Booth Street campus, taken last year. And this is just a close-up view of one of the mining laboratories that Natural Resources Canada had established there. So many people had the opportunity to weigh in on what would be done with this site that was virtually not being used anymore, including Crown corporations, architecture students, artists, and of course, intermediate students from Hopewell Avenue Public School. So Canada Lands acquired the site in 2015 from Natural Resources Canada, and they had plans for a mixed-use community hub with both commercial and housing development applications. This is an actual picture of their design concept. And by contrast, this is a picture of the design concept that came to fruition from one of the students in a grade 7 and 8 class at Hopewell that I was fortunate enough to teach. These are affordable housing units. Here's a street view from the Canada Lands design concept. And here you get kind of a juxtaposition with the street view around a rec center, complete with, a basketball court, a swimming pool, green roof space, and green walking space with both historical and aesthetic significance and appeal. Another company's rendering of what they wanted to do with the site, complete with a Ferris wheel, if you can make it out up there. Now this is the finished project, which you'll get a better look at in a second. But before we could get to that finished project, before we could get there, there needed to be a lot of planning. So the students, after touring the Booth Street site and taking notes, were then exposed to many different architectural and design techniques from around the globe, with a focus on using natural light, green space, and artistic expression. They were also surrounded with these fluid anchor charts so they could keep running notes about how they wanted to develop their idea of how the Booth Street campus should be used. After that, it was time to build, but first they also needed to be designated and decide what roles they wanted to fulfill in the project. And each student, either individually or in small groups, had a position to take or a part to build. Here you can see many images of the students hard at work in my classroom. The main model was positioned in the center of the room, surrounded by cutting, gluing, and art stations. Again, more shots of the students working on their particular parts. The final step before presenting to Carleton University was to prepare, and they did so by running through exactly what they were going to say about their contribution to the project and how it contributed to a sustainable community. And then they took the stage on Carleton's campus. This is called the Pit in the architectural building. And each student, as you can see, took turns in small groups and individually running through for all those in attendance, including parents, superintendents, representatives from Canada Lands Corporation and the School of Architecture, and the City of Ottawa. We had a running joke, who built it better, because ours was positioned directly beside the School of Architecture's sister project, essentially. They were doing the same thing, and we were joking that our model looked a lot more appealing. That was our running joke. So these are the students presenting. There were around 26 students presenting. Ellie is actually here with us tonight, and you'll hear from her in just a moment. Actually, if you want to grab them, yeah. Adam also is here with us tonight. You can't really make him out, but he's in the back behind Rowan, who's currently presenting. And all in all, this was really a remarkable experience. It's singular in my history as an educator, from the amount of inclusion that was involved, just getting all the students to do hands-on, real-world application work from their own community. They really took ownership of their learning in a way that I hadn't witnessed before, or hadn't witnessed much in my limited time as a teacher. They got to interact with these different leaders of their community and really felt like they had a voice through this entire project. And you can see that they are now bringing out the model itself, so you guys can have a closer look at it at some point. So you really get a sense of the scale of the project here and just what sort of work went into it. It should be noted that from start to finish, this was a 5-day program, a full-day program. The students devoted their time to it, but really it amounted to only about 3 days of building. The first day and a half was planning, and then there was prep for the architectural school presentation, and then the presentation itself on the 5th day. So all of this came together from what should have been a mad scramble, but really was such a well-developed effort on the part of number 9 and these kids. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity for us to share the IMSC project with you.
So the students are here, and they have prepared just a few perspectives on their part, if they would like to share. And I don't know if you can hear them without the mics. Do you want to try? And if
For those on the phone, Superintendent Grigoriev,
so you
it
will
would be
need the
better
mics.
if they did
Okay.
go down
So
and
then,
use the mics.
would you like to come up and sit at this table? Come on up. Cordless. Oh, perfect. Even better. Thank you. Maybe just introduce yourself, your name, and then something about what you did. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ellie, and my personal project within the project was this forest here with a little nursery and a playground. Our main focus was to make completely sustainable, so we had no cars throughout the entire project. We had a giant path, and our goal is to make it a big green space and a place for the community to come and all be together. And I think I'm pretty proud of what we did, and I think everyone else can say the same.
Hi, my name is Diana. I made the park. So my goal was to make something that was modern and aesthetically pleasing. It's because of the art school that's here. There's a stage here for performers, and people can watch from here. I tried to use wood and stone because I think that's very modern. In the design, it's very abstract, so that makes it really pleasing. This whole project was about the 9 pillars of sustainability, one of them being public design and art, and I think this represents it really well. Also the art school and the murals throughout the whole area. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Noah, and what I did was a wood innovation center right here. So it is a factory to make wood more sustainable and like eco-friendly for everyone to use. Right here I have a little structure made out of wood with some solar panels on the top for some sustainability and eco-friendly usage. It has a nice view and it is visually appealing. I also have some pillars there to help support the apartments on the top. So yeah, I really love doing the project. It was very fun, and helping out with number 9 and them encouraging us to do what we did was very, very great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adam. I worked on the technology center right here. And so I tried to make it as environmentally friendly as possible by making it a green roof so that any of the rain that fell on it would be reused in the grass. And it kind of works as insulation to keep it warm and wouldn't have to use heating. And the main source of light, at least during the day, are windows. And so this is the main store area right here. And on the other side, it is a recyclable technology plant. So you can put any batteries or metal or technology there that you don't want to use anymore, and they will try to reuse it. And if they can't reuse it, they will recycle it properly. And around it is sort of a space for thinking, being calm, all that. So thank you.
So I just want to say something else. I really appreciate that the 9 pillars and Mr. Ranger used grade 8s and grade 7s to represent this and see it from our perspective, and they let us design this and create this all by ourselves. So I just want to say thank you to Mr. Ranger and the 9 pillars of sustainability. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also want to thank and acknowledge the parents that brought the students here this evening, and just having a little sidebar conversation with one of the moms. She was talking about how engaged her son was throughout this process, and even now as they were recalling the experience that they had.
I just wanted to mention that the inclusivity of this project, again, we had children helping out that were in the behavioral intervention program in our school, and I recognized a level of devotion to the project, and just their general engagement was spiking during this 5-day project. And they still had challenges in the classroom, but they were very happy to be there. And this project is really the envy of everybody who sees it at Hopewell right now.
Thank you very much for bringing this forward. We'd like to open the floor to trustees. Should trustees have any questions, we'd like to certainly entertain those. Chair, would you?
And we'll begin with Trustee Schwartz.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much for bringing this today. This is exactly what, when we were talking about the strategic plan, I was hoping we were going to actually have an opportunity to see and hear from students and hear from educators in terms of some of the innovations that are taking place in the classroom. This project in particular is of interest to me because I worked at the Booth Street complex. And so when I look at this, I can actually visualize exactly the buildings you're talking about. I was working in the office where we were actually dealing with the Canada Lands Corporation as well and trying to figure out what that space might look like in the future. And this is a much better design, frankly, than what the Canada Lands Corporation came up with. Having been a worker in the tower at 580 booth that kind of looks out over this area, one of the things that, and then on the other side you have Dow's Lake, we often said that this area needed to have some green space and needed to have kind of innovation in those existing heritage buildings. But how do you do that, and how do you then incorporate mixed use planning into this? And I think you guys have done a fantastic job kind of envisioning what future land use planning should look like, but also from a sustainability perspective. the kind of innovations that we can actually have in our cities. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you all doing architecture in the future that's actually going to bring this stuff to life.
Thank you, Trustee Schwartz. This really is a time for questions, but we don't have a ton of time, so I have 3 more people on my list, and then I think we're going to have to stop it there. So next to Trustee Ellis.
Thank you, and you certainly make us look good with the work that you've done. But I do have some questions for the teacher and the superintendent. I'm wondering if this process would fall within what some might think of as student-directed learning. And I'd also, have you given thought to how this kind of initiative that spanned was it grades as well as programs, can be, what you've learned from this be shared with your colleagues so that we can see more of this throughout the system?
That's a great question, or 2 questions. To speak to the, first to the matter of whether or not this is something you could keep doing, right? I definitely think, like, I witnessed firsthand the materials that Number 9 acquired for us to use, and besides assembling the base model, it really is something that's very doable. All you need is a printer, a color printer preferably, and the materials you'd find at your local craft store, and you could build this from the ground up yourself. It could be an imagined geography, or it could be based on a real site. I do think that it being grounded in reality has value to give the students a sense of them actually being a part of their community and having a voice, because that's something they all said. And to your first question was about, the student-directed learning. And I think that, it was never spelled out at the start, you'll be doing this yourselves, but the kids just took to it. The only direction they had was to decide, and they decided themselves, more or less, what roles they would assume and what sort of projects they wanted to take on within the larger model. And, they had a bit of guidance and steering whenever they hit a bump in the road, but for the most part, they directed themselves. They decided exactly what they wanted to do. They had suggestions to work with, but it's all their brainchild.
And if I can just add to that, I think it's a great example of a combination of knowing your curriculum, knowing what the learning goals are for the initiative, and establishing criteria, and then turning it over to the students to take it on from there. So I would say it's a combination of teacher, the community partnership, and enabling the students to take on.
Thank you. Next, we have Trustee Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Wonderful. It's great to see this. I guess I have something of a bit of a follow-up question, as it turns out then. Hopewell is a large school. May have existing partners. And I guess what I'm wondering from an equity angle is to what extent we can roll out, maybe not this particular kind of project, but similar projects to other schools across the district. Are there plans perhaps to package this elixir, bottle this elixir and administer it throughout the district, or is there some way that we can roll out, again, not necessarily a repeat or a duplication of this specifically, which may not be repeatable at scale, but using this as a good exemplar of what can be done, provided that there is the flexibility at the local school level, provided that there are some dollars in the pot, et cetera.
So I can begin to answer that. I think what this project does is it shows an example of what is possible when there are certain elements that are working together. And on page 2, you'll see factors contributing to success, and there were many. So those are absolutely, you can replicate that within a context, and it need not be with this particular association or group, but it could be the idea of looking at who the community partners are who are willing to collaborate with schools, and further it from there. And often what happens, and I know what happened at Hopewell, is that other teachers start looking like, whoa, that's really neat. I wonder if I can do that too. So it spreads, and the positive news and the enthusiasm of the students, I think, speaks for itself, and I know others wanted to be part of it as well, and probably will be in the future.
Thank you for that. For the final question here, I look to Ganabot Gagne, one of our student trustees.
Thank you. First off, very quickly, I'd just like to say I attend Glebe Collegiate, so I drive past that complex every single day, and it is mostly hideous to drive by, and this would be a huge improvement, so congratulations on the design. As a follow-up question, though, I've seen many of these similarly structured community outreach projects taking place at the secondary level across the city through nonprofits such as Youth Ottawa. So my first question is, what is the status of these community outreach and community relevancy projects taking place at the 7-8 level across the district? And also, how willing was number 9 ready to work with the younger age group, and was there any hesitancy there that we have seen with other organizations?
So we're going to divide and conquer the answers here. So I can't tell you what the status is of the 7 and 8 initiatives, and I think that is what we are trying to actually find out. Much to my surprise, this was an initiative that was happening in one of my schools, but I know that the superintendents are interested to learn where else. And I know that one of my colleagues who's present this evening actually is actively seeking out examples of where these things are taking place, and there are many in our district. And I'll let Thomas speak to the willingness of number 9 to work with 7 and 8 students.
Thank you. One of the first things that the associates from number 9 actually went over with me before they met the students was that to show me the previous work they'd done at other schools doing similar projects, and they had worked with junior grades before, at least one grade 6 class. I saw a bunch of photos and a couple of videos of that, and that was, of course, to give me a sense of what the project was going to be like and what we could, what was going to come to fruition. But certainly, I think they would be willing to work with anybody at almost any, division level. They just love working with students. They were great.
And now I'd like to turn to Lyra Evans. Trustee Lyra is the representative here for Capital and Rideau Vanier wards, and that includes Hopewell schools. So, Trustee Lyra.
So I'd really like to thank the staff for creating a project like this. It really goes to show the community feel of schools like Hopewell. But particularly, I want to thank the students for coming and speaking in front of a crowd of otherwise strangers. And I know it takes a lot to stand up and talk about something you've created, and you've done such a wonderful job. And so we have a little gift for each of you to show how grateful we are that you came to share this with us.
Thank you all very much. I do have one final question, and that is, will we be allowed to have the model for a little while so we can in fact look at it more closely?
You may have it for as long as you want it. Storage has been quite an issue at Hopewell, I can tell you. We probably will have to get a courier to bring it back to school. But I would suggest taking a walk around after the meeting adjourns, I suppose. Please.
Shall we move it out of the way for now so you can see each other a little better, or leave it where it is? Leave it? Okay. Okay. Okay, great.
So thank you all again very much. This was the first such event that we've done in terms of looking to see what happens in real life in our schools, and it was a huge treat, a great start to what I hope is going to be a long series of these presentations. So thank you. Moving on then, I will turn to the Vice Chair Bronovan for report from board in camera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board met in camera this evening and reports and recommends as follows. The approval of a contract for external audit services, moved by Trustee Penny, and I will second that a contract for external audit services be executed as directed in board in camera.
Thank you, Trustee Bronovan. Our discussion of this item was all held in camera, so I will call the question on a recorded vote. All those in favor?
Trustee Boothby, Trustee Blackburn, Trustee Huff, Trustee Campbell, Trustee Ellis, Trustee Jenikins, Trustee Penny, Trustee Lyra, Trustee Bronovan, Trustee Fisher.
Fisher in favor.
Thank you. Trustee Schwartz and Trustee Scott.
And that is carried unanimously. That brings us then, is there anything else in your report, Trustee Bronovan?
Nope, that concludes my report.
Thank you. That brings us to the briefing from me as chair tonight, and I have several items. First of all, this Saturday, October the 26th, the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board will be hosting an early learning career fair at Sir Guy Carleton Secondary School. If anybody out there is an early childhood educator or an early learning assistant looking to start a career at the OCDSB, please come and talk to our team about our programs and set up an interview, or bring your curriculum vitae and participate in one of our on-site interviews. The career fair will run on Saturday from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., and that's at Sir Guy Carleton Secondary School. Secondly, on Thursday this week, October the 24th, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit secondary students from across the district will be attending the 4th Annual Indigenous Youth Symposium. This year, we welcome Indigenous youth from Pikwakanagan and Kitigan Zibi. This is a gathering for students, staff, and community members to learn together, to network, to rely on one another for support, and above all, to have their voices heard. And finally, a reminder that there is still time to register for our annual Parent Conference and School Council Training Day on Saturday, November the 9th at Longfield's Davidson Heights Secondary School. At this point, I believe almost 600 parents have registered for the conference. If you are a school council member, please try to complete our online thought exchange by the 1st of November. Your comments will help us shape the afternoon portion of the day, which will focus on school council training and what is most important to you as a school council member. And that's everything in my briefing for tonight. Are there any questions? If there are none, I look to the director for her briefing.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. My briefing surrounds the Labor Relations update. OCDSB members of the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario and the Secondary School Teachers Federation have taken part or will participate in central strike votes. As well, EDFO and OSSTF have advised that they have asked the Minister of Labour to appoint a conciliation officer with respect to central bargaining. A reminder that strike votes and conciliation are part of the bargaining process. While these are necessary preconditions for strike action, this does not mean that strike action is imminent. And that's all for my report.
And are there any questions for the director? Seeing none, we have no delegations this evening, but we do have some minutes to confirm. So I'm looking for a motion to confirm the board minutes from the 24th of September 2019 at page 5, folio 5 in your package. Trustee Schwartz, seconded by Trustee Huff. Are there any errors or omissions? If there are none, I'll call the question on confirmation. All those in favor? And opposed?
Fisher in favor.
And opposed? And the motion is carried. Is there any business arising from these board minutes? Trustee Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't able to attend the most recent meeting of the Committee of the Whole, so maybe it came up there, I'm not sure. But in at the bottom of folio 7 under 7.1 with respect to the child care space rental delegation, staff undertook to look into the and to review the policy with respect to the language on third-party partners, and I'm not sure if an update is will be forthcoming at some point.
Madam Director.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair, indeed that is a commitment that was made in that meeting. We haven't yet produced a memo to that effect, but we will certainly circle back with trustees just to give an outcome as to where we are with that.
Is there any other business arising? Moving on then. Committee of the Whole report from the 1st of October 2019. Trustee Brownovan.
I'd like to move receipt of the Committee of the Whole report from the 1st of October 2019.
And is there a seconder for that? Trustee Schwartz. Are there any errors or omissions in this report?
My name is Moody. Sorry, I called in a bit late.
Has joined. Sorry, who is this on the phone?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was told to call in at 7 p.m. for the DA Moody Award.
You're Rassam or Mingdi?
I'm Mingda. I'm so sorry. I completely forgot about everything.
We understand very much. I have to say we have completed the presentation. Parents were here. We took lots of great pictures. We displayed your picture up on our big screen in the room. And congratulations on a huge achievement. I hope you're enjoying your program at U of T.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a great evening. Goodbye. My name is Mingdi.
Mingdi.
Sorry, I called in a bit late.
Mingdi, don't. We will send an email. And moving on then, I now forget whether I had finished calling the question on confirmation of those minutes. So let's call the vote on receipt for Committee of the Whole report from 1st of October. All those in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. Trustee Brownovan.
Yep. On folio 31, there's a motion by Trustee Schwartz that I will second, that the consultation plan outlining revisions to policy P.074.IT, computer network security, attached as Appendix B to report 19-092, be approved.
Thank you. Is this a consent item? I'm seeing no objections. We have another motion in this, another recommendation?
We sure do. On folio 32, on a motion by trustee Lyra, that I will second, that the board approve an amendment to policy P.125.SCO, School District Code of Conduct, attached as Appendix B to report 19-094.
And is this a consent item? And I'm seeing no objection to dealing with this as a consent item. Does that conclude your report, Trustee Bronovan? Thank you. Let's see if we have consent items in the other committee of the whole report from the 15th of October. Trustee Lara, are you moving receipt?
Okay. I will move receipt of the report from Committee of the Whole 2019. There are 6 recommendations from this committee report.
Let's deal with receipt first. So is there a seconder for receipt? Trustee Boothbay. Are there any errors or omissions in the report? Seeing none, I'll call the question on receipt. All those in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. Trustee Lyra.
So there are 6 recommendations in this report. On folio 56, on a motion by Trustee Scott, which I will second. A, that the board affirm that a pupil accommodation review under OCDSB policy P.118.PLG, pupil accommodation review, is not required for this study, and B, that the timeline and consultation plan attached as Appendix B and C to report 19-078 for a study to determine the program attendance boundary and opening grade structure for the new Sissville Secondary School and other associated changes be approved.
And we need a substitute mover for this. Trustee Bronovan will substitute. And is this a consent item? And I'm seeing no objection. Trustee Lyra.
On folio 57, on a motion by Trustee Schwartz, which I will second, that KPMG's LLP's plan for the audit of the 2018-2019 consolidated financial statements be approved.
And is this a consent item? Would appear that it is, so what's next, Trustee Lyra?
On folio 57, on a motion by Trustee Schwartz, which I will second, that Appendix A to report 19-73 be approved as the 2018-2019 annual report on internal audit activity.
And is that a consent item? We're on a roll here.
On folio 57, on a motion by Trustee Schwartz, which I will second, that report 19-74 be approved as the Audit Committee's annual report for the board 2018-2019.
And is that one a consent item?
On folio 57, on a motion by Trustee Fisher, which I will second, that the 2019-2020 regional internal audit mandate be approved.
And is that a consent item? Yes, it would. Yes, it is. Trustee Lara.
On folio 58, on a motion by Trustee Fisher, which I will second, that the internal audit plan for 2018-2019 be approved.
And is that one also a consent item? And it is.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Lyra. So we have all of the recommendations from the 1st of October and the 15th of October as consent items. Can we take a recorded vote on all of those as one batch? All those in favor then?
Trustee
Fisher in favor.
Trustee Boothby, Trustee Blackburn, Trustee Huff, Trustee Campbell, Trustee Ellis, Trustee Jenikins, Trustee Penny, Trustee Lyra, Trustee Bronovan, Trustee Fisher, and Trustee Schwartz, and Trustee Scott.
And that is carried unanimously with all board members present. Thank you very much for that. That means there are no non-consent items. Next item is receipt of the Advocacy Strategy Committee report from the 1st of October 2019. Trustee Bronovan?
I would like to move receipt.
And do we have a seconder for that? Trustee Blackburn? Are there any errors or omissions in this report? Seeing none, all those in favor of receipt?
Fisher in favor.
And opposed? And the motion is carried. Trustee Bronovan?
There are no recommendations in the report.
Thank you for that. There are no recommendations in the report. However, Sue Baker, Manager of Board Services, has circulated to trustees a draft of sort of organizing the points that were raised in discussion. I will ask any trustee who has not yet had a look at those to please have a look at them as soon as you can and provide any comments so that the draft can be revised for further action and further reference. Thank you very much. Matters for discussion. Do we have a report from our OPSPA representatives this evening?
No, Madam Chair.
Matters for information. We have nothing new attached to the agenda. Is there any new business public this evening? Trustee Lyra?
I would like to give notice that I would like to have a discussion. I'd like to add something to the agenda in the future about having a discussion about the litigative stance of the OCDSB as it relates to playgrounds or field trips.
So noted. We will take that up at agenda planning. Is there any other new business? And if there is none, we do still have one item to deal with from our in-camera agenda. So I'm looking for a motion to reconvene in camera. Trustee Schwartz, seconded by Trustee Huff. And all those in favor of reconvening in camera? And opposed? And that motion is carried. It's uncertain just how long we will be in our discussion, but when we are done, we will report out. It is discussion. We will report out and adjourn the public meeting at that point. Thank you very much.